Have you ever gone for a routine health check and heard the doctor say, "Your cholesterol is high, be careful"? At that time, did you feel worried? I believe so. Because I have heard that too, and I understand how you feel. The older we get, the more we realize that eating is no longer for fun, but to live healthy, live comfortably, live longer with our children and grandchildren. And one of the most silent, but most dangerous things, found in seemingly familiar daily meals, is cholesterol. Cholesterol is not an enemy, but it is not a good friend if we do not know how to treat it. It is like a difficult friend. If we do not treat it properly, it will disrupt the cardiovascular system, clog blood vessels, cause high blood pressure, stroke, and even heart attack. You may not think that a cheese sandwich, a piece of fried meat, or a glass of ice cream at night can silently contribute to your cholesterol levels rising every day. But it is true. And if you are 60 or older, it is imperative to identify and change your bad eating habits, not only to live longer, but to live healthy, happy, and free from daily medication. Let me tell you a little story. An elderly friend of mine, Evelyn, lives in Florida. Every morning she eats fried eggs, bacon, and butter toast. It is a dish she has been used to all her life, and she believes she is healthy. Until one day, she felt a little dizzy while walking in the garden. After being hospitalized, the doctor said her cholesterol was almost twice the safe level. Just by changing some simple eating habits, 6 months later, Mrs. Evelyn had significantly reduced her cholesterol index, no longer dizzy, no longer worried every time she measured her blood pressure. Her story is one of thousands of stories I have heard during my years of working with the elderly. And that is why I want to look directly at the topic with you today. We are talking about eating habits that silently increase cholesterol in the elderly, which we often do not know. And the first thing I want to emphasize is the use of saturated fat in the daily diet. You may have heard somewhere about saturated fat, but do not really understand what it is. I will say it in the most understandable way. Saturated fat is the type of fat that is often found in animal fat, in butter, in cream, in cheese, in the golden fried foods that we still like to eat. When you go to the supermarket, do you notice the packages of butter cookies, the boxes of vanilla ice cream, the thin slices of bacon? They are all hidden enemies filled with saturated fat. When eaten, they not only make us feel fat and delicious, but also increase LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, in the blood. And you know, LDL is like garbage in the blood vessels. It sticks to the walls of the blood vessels, causing blockages and causing sudden heart attacks that we cannot react to. A large study from the Harvard School of Public Health showed that older people who consume a lot of saturated fat have a 30% higher risk of cardiovascular disease than those who eat less saturated fat. But more importantly, many people do not know that they are eating a lot of saturated fat every day because they think eating a little is not a problem. But a little every day is a problem. If you eat a piece of buttered toast every morning, some fried meat for lunch, and fatty beef bone soup for dinner, then the total amount of saturated fat you take in every day can far exceed the allowable limit. For people 60 and older, experts recommend that saturated fat should account for less than 7% of total daily calories. That means if you eat 1,600 calories a day, saturated fat should be less than 12 grams. For example, a slice of cheddar cheese can contain 6 grams. Just a slice, guys. I remember one time when I visited a friend's family in Texas, lunch was simply grilled meat with fries and mayonnaise. It was delicious, but when I looked at the portion with an expert eye, I immediately saw that it was an excessive amount of saturated fat for a person in his 70s. So what is the solution? Do I have to give up all my favorite foods? No. You can definitely make changes gradually. For example, instead of using regular butter, try using plant-based margarine that is certified trans fat-free. Instead of deep frying, switch to baking, steaming, or sautéing with little oil. And if you love cheese, choose low-fat cheese and eat it in moderation. Trust me, these small changes will make a big difference over time. Now, let's move on to a second eating habit that is also silent but has a significant impact, which is consuming too much sugar in the daily diet. It may sound unrelated, but in fact, consuming too much sugar, especially refined sugar in cakes, soft drinks, candies, and processed foods, not only increases the risk of diabetes, but is also directly related to increasing the level of triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood. When triglycerides increase, it means that the risk of atherosclerosis and heart disease also increases. Just think, every morning drinking a glass of canned orange juice, eating a muffin in the middle of the meal, eating some ice cream or sweet canned fruit in the afternoon. The amount of sugar you consume can be up to 60 to 80 grams a day, far exceeding the recommendation of only about 25 to 30 grams for the elderly. And did you know that excess sugar will be converted into fat, accumulate in the liver, disrupt lipid metabolism, and cause cholesterol to increase faster than you think? We often think that eating sweets means low fat, but that's a mistake. Many products labeled low fat are loaded with sugar to make up for the delicious taste. A low-fat yogurt sold at the supermarket can contain up to 20 grams of sugar, almost as much as a can of soda. So instead of avoiding fat without paying attention to sugar, we should choose whole, minimally processed foods, such as fresh fruit, whole grains, and unsweetened or plant-based milk. I know a 78-year-old man in California who used to be addicted to cakes and ice cream. But after his doctor warned him about his high triglycerides, he started to change. He switched to fresh fruit, drank water instead of canned juice, and occasionally ate homemade cakes, low in sugar and high in oats and nuts. After nearly a year, his blood fat levels stabilized without the need for medication. If we really want to live healthier and more freely in our old age, then habits are something that can be changed. You see, just two simple habits, consuming too much saturated fat and consuming too much sugar, are enough to increase cholesterol without us even knowing it. But that's not all. There are still other things that I want to share with you in the next part. Things that you sometimes think are harmless, but in fact are the seeds of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and even memory loss in old age. So, if you find what I shared today useful, if you have ever experienced the feeling of surprise when the doctor said your cholesterol was high, or you have your own experience of changing your diet, I would love for you to leave a comment below. Please share with me and your friends of the same age, because who knows, your story might help someone realize what is important in this life. Continuing to talk about seemingly harmless habits that secretly increase cholesterol in old age, I want you to take a closer look at a point that you may not have expected, which is the third habit, eating too little fiber. It sounds easy, but the consequences are not small. You know, fiber acts like a magic broom in the digestive system. It sweeps away excess fat, absorbs excess cholesterol in the intestines, and expels it before cholesterol has a chance to enter the blood. When you eat enough fiber, especially soluble fiber, bad cholesterol in the blood will be controlled naturally without medication. But sadly, most people over 60 eat much less than the amount of fiber needed each day. Maybe because of weak teeth, poor chewing, or simply not being used to vegetables, whole grains, lentils, or thick-skinned fruits. I once met an old man in Arizona who ate 3 full meals a day, but the menu usually revolved around white rice, lean meat, thin soup, and a few slices of cucumber. It sounds healthy, but after the test, the cholesterol was still rising steadily. When I asked more, the doctor realized that I had not eaten any beans, oatmeal, or apples all week. The fiber was only sparsely found in a few slices of vegetables. And that's why the body was not strong enough to expel cholesterol. Interestingly, just adding a cup of lentils a day, or eating an apple, a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, and a few handfuls of dark green vegetables at lunch, you have gone a long way in reducing cholesterol naturally. A study by the American Heart Association has shown that increasing soluble fiber by just 10 grams per day can help reduce LDL, the bad cholesterol, by about 5 to 10% within a few weeks. In particular, fiber also helps control blood sugar, helps bowel movements work effectively, and reduces the risk of colon cancer in the elderly. I know some people think that eating a lot of vegetables will cause indigestion, bloating, or loss of appetite. But this happens mainly when you make sudden changes. The best way is to start slowly. A little boiled spinach, a bowl of stewed bean soup, a bowl of smooth oatmeal are all easy to eat and digest. Don't pay attention to the amount at first. Pay attention to the changes in your body. After a week, you will feel lighter, less bloated, and most importantly, your blood fats will start to go down very naturally, without forcing them. Next, there is another habit that I think many of us have had. The fourth habit is eating late at night and eating too much at night. I once talked to an elderly woman in New Jersey who usually eats dinner at 8:30 to 9 p.m. after watching TV. Dinner is usually spaghetti with cream sauce, a glass of milk, and some dessert. She said that she ate late to sleep easily, ate a lot to stay full all night. But after a while, she had a full stomach, could not sleep well, and the test results showed that her cholesterol had increased, especially triglycerides. You see, when you eat too late, especially foods high in fat and starch, the body does not have enough time to metabolize energy. Instead, the excess calories will be converted into fat, accumulating in the liver and blood vessels. This happens every night, causing the liver to work harder while you sleep, causing lipid disorders. Not to mention, when you eat late, the body tends not to digest completely, causing heartburn, reflux, shortness of breath, thereby interrupting sleep. As you know, insomnia is also one of the factors that increase the risk of heart disease in the elderly. A study by Columbia University showed that older people who eat dinner after 8 p.m. and consume more than 30% of their daily calories in the evening tend to have increased triglycerides, blood sugar, and insulin, which are closely related to cardiovascular risk. Meanwhile, people who eat dinner before 7 p.m. eat light meals with lots of vegetables, fiber, and less saturated fat have better sleep quality, stable weight, and significantly easier to control cholesterol levels. So, I recommend that if possible, you eat dinner a little earlier, maybe 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. And choose easy-to-digest dishes, such as vegetable soup, steamed fish, a little brown rice, add a piece of tofu or a bowl of seaweed soup. You will feel lighter, sleep deeper, and gradually your blood lipid index will also improve. Let's come to the fifth habit, the habit of eating salty foods, eaten with processed foods such as sausages, cold cuts, canned foods, pickles, dried fish, and these foods are rich in saturated fat and bad cholesterol. Eating salty foods will increase blood pressure. As you know, high blood pressure combined with high cholesterol will become a dangerous couple for the cardiovascular system in old age. Many doctors even call this silent death because it does not cause immediate pain, does not cause obvious discomfort, but silently destroys blood vessels, makes the heart work harder, and can cause a stroke at any time. A cardiologist in Chicago once told me, if the elderly only reduce half of the amount of salt and salty foods each day, combined with light walking, after 3 months, blood pressure and blood fat can be significantly reduced without medication. You do not need to completely give up strong flavors. Just adjust slowly. Use low-sodium fish sauce, replace salt with herbs like onions, garlic, ginger, lemon, pepper. If you like pickles or braised fish, reduce the amount of spices little by little. The taste will gradually get used to it, and you can still enjoy it without harming your heart. Dear friend, I know that changing eating habits after decades is not easy. It takes time, determination, and encouragement from relatives, friends, and stories like this. I always believe that each of us has the ability to improve our own health without waiting for the doctor to remind us, without waiting for a sudden pain, but starting today, from our own kitchen, from each simple daily meal. And if you have ever tried, with a diet that reduces fatty meat, has chosen more vegetables than white rice, has replaced soft drinks with filtered water, then I would love to hear that story from you. Please share your feelings in the comments section below this video, because such real experiences are a precious gift for those who are on the same journey as you, who also want to live healthier, live more easily in their old age. So what is next that is silently increasing cholesterol levels in the blood of the elderly without many people knowing? I want you to take a closer look at your daily habits of consuming milk and dairy products, and that is the sixth habit that I want to mention. Many people think that milk is a good source of calcium, which is essential for strong bones, especially after the age of 60. That is true, but only if you choose the right type of milk. If you are not careful, you will be taking in a lot of saturated fat, one of the main culprits that causes cholesterol to increase without leaving a clear trace. I once talked to a doctor in California who drank a glass of whole milk every morning, ate a few slices of buttered bread and a box of full-fat yogurt. When asked, he said, "I heard that old people need to drink milk to avoid osteoporosis." But when checked again, his LDL index, or bad cholesterol, was always higher than the allowed level. The story is, not all milk is good for the elderly. Whole milk, full-fat cheese, fresh cream, butter, all of these foods contain a large amount of saturated fat, and it is saturated fat that stimulates the liver to produce more cholesterol. You can continue to drink milk, but choose skim milk, plant milk such as almond milk, unsweetened soy milk, or oat milk. These types of milk are not only low in bad fats, but also rich in soluble fiber that can help lower cholesterol gently. A glass of soy milk every morning does not make you gain weight, but also helps the heart function more stably, thanks to the isoflavone compound characteristic of soybeans. Moreover, it still provides enough calcium and protein to maintain bone density without harming the vascular system. Similarly, if you love yogurt, choose low-fat, unsweetened yogurt with added probiotics. Not only is it good for digestion, but it also helps reduce inflammation, regulate blood sugar, and thereby indirectly help control cholesterol more effectively. Many people think that it is correct to completely abstain from dairy products, but in reality, it is not necessary. The important thing is not to quit completely, but to choose the right type, use it correctly, and know how to adjust the amount to suit your physical condition. The last habit I want to share with you today is the habit that many people find the hardest to give up, which is uncontrolled snacking. Especially when you are retired, have a lot of time at home, or when you are sad, lonely, watching TV, doing crossword puzzles, or simply sitting down for a break, you can easily reach for a bag of chips, butter cookies, chocolate candy, or something sweet to munch on. But it is these fun foods that contain the most trans fat, saturated fat, and refined sugar, a trio that is very dangerous for the heart. A study at Harvard University once showed that people who consume a lot of trans fat from packaged snacks have a 21% higher risk of bad cholesterol than those who consume less. Not to mention, these packaged snacks often come with high sodium, artificial flavors, and preservatives, which are very slow for older people to process. When consumed too often, they not only increase blood fat but also cause inflammation of the blood vessels, making the body tired, easy to gain weight, and reduce resistance. I know that feeling well, eating a piece of cookie feels sweet, eating a few more chips feels fun, and then just like that, you lose control. But did you know, just a small bag of potato chips can contain up to 2 to 3 grams of trans fat and more than 200 empty calories. If that happens every day, you will not only see high cholesterol, but also have a high risk of fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, or stroke. Instead, you can choose healthier snacks. A few unsalted roasted almonds, a few thin slices of apple dipped in natural peanut butter, a piece of ripe banana, or a small bowl of steamed soybeans. These dishes are not only delicious and easy to prepare, but also contain good fats, fiber, and vitamins that help you stay full longer, reduce cravings, and especially do not increase cholesterol. And if you find it difficult to control snacking, a little tip is to not keep unhealthy foods in sight. Replace them with a basket of fresh fruit on the table, a small jar of nuts placed in a cabinet near the kitchen. You will easily choose the right ones without too much effort. What I always emphasize when talking to the elderly is that changing your diet is not a sacrifice, but an investment. Every meal you choose to be lighter, every bowl of vegetable porridge instead of instant noodles, every glass of water instead of soft drinks, every time you say no to cookies, you are saying yes to your heart, to tomorrow's health, to long-term happiness. And you are not alone in this journey. Many older people have done it, are doing it, and you can do it too. I once met a 68-year-old man in Texas who had a cholesterol level above 250, was often tired, and had shortness of breath. After being hospitalized for chest pain, he decided to change his entire diet, cut down on red meat, eat more vegetables, switch to olive oil, drink soy milk, and give up snack cakes. After 6 months, he told me that not only was he healthier, but he also slept better, had brighter skin, and felt 10 years younger. This is the clearest proof that health is something that can be reversed if we really want it. Dear friend, every change, no matter how small, is an important step forward. No one expects you to be perfect from the start, nor does anyone expect you to give up everything overnight. Just today, you start paying more attention to your own meals. Look back to see if you are eating a lot of processed foods, if your meals have enough green vegetables, if you drink the right milk. Each of these questions is a small light that leads you to a more stable health, a healthier heart, and more peaceful old age. If you find yourself having habits like I shared, or have changed and achieved good results, please leave a comment below the video. I believe that your true story will be a source of inspiration for many others. We are walking together on a journey of healthy living, not alone, but full of love and empathy. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to click the like button, share it with your relatives, friends, or anyone you love. Subscribe to the channel so that every week, we have the opportunity to meet, chat, and discover meaningful things for the elderly. Remember, small changes can make a big difference to your health and happiness. You deserve a healthy, easy, and joyful life at any age. Wish you a happy and healthy life. Goodbye and see you in the next video.